Now, Iran fired missiles in response towards Jerusalem just hours after the United States launched these airstrikes. Iran's top diplomat warning this morning that the U.S. airstrikes would, quote, have everlasting consequences. U.S. involvement raising questions now about the escalation of this conflict. Democrats criticizing the president for his actions. Maryland Democratic Senator Chris Van Hollen among those writing in part. Trump said that he would end wars. He's now dragged America into one. His actions are a clear violation of our Constitution. Likewise, Virginia Senator Tim Kaine posting on social media last night, writing, the American public is overwhelmingly opposed to the U.S. waging war in Iran, and the Israeli foreign minister admitted yesterday the Israeli bombing had set the Iranian nuclear program back at least 2 or 3 years. So what made the president decide to pull the trigger? That is a big question right now this morning. Let's go live to a familiar face here on the Hill, retired U.S. Army Major and military analyst Mike Lyons joining us live this morning. Mike, I suspect you just watched that live Pentagon news conference with us just moments ago. What is the big question right now about the damage assessment? How soon will we know the full extent of the result of the successful military operation?
Well, Tom, I think a couple things. We're pointing every satellite we can likely to those spots to see what kind of analysis we can get from pictures that are taken there. I would not be surprised, though, if we had troops going in, either Israeli troops or maybe JSOC U.S. forces, to get some level of battle damage assessment, and especially like Isfahan's very close to the border there between Iraq and Iran. So we need to see that, to see specifically what that damage is. Look, this did not destroy everything. It did not take away this capability. The nuclear genie's out of the bottle, but it did more than just kick the can down the road. It did. It set them back tremendously if the destruction is what the president says it is, and likely in for decades as opposed to just a few years. We can't have the Iranians have any kind of nuclear capability, because you combine it with their ballistic missile capability and they become a formidable force.
Iran for days now. What was different about this ordinance that the U.S. delivered as opposed to what Israel was already doing?
Well, the massive ordnance penetrator was specifically designed to take out this target. Back in '91 during Desert Storm, we created the Bunker Buster, which was a smaller version of it, to go after Saddam Hussein and his crew that were well below the earth there. This one, we knew that there were potentially 200 to 300 feet below the surface, 60 feet of reinforced concrete. Still a very difficult target set because of 90-degree angles and blast doors and all of the physics designed in there. So, you know, somewhat similar to what we saw in Top Gun Maverick about how that went, the double tap concept. The first one goes in, a 30,000-pound bomb with the help of Sir Isaac Newton, and gravity falling from the sky drills deep into the earth, and then it explodes, and then followed by other ones creates that damage underground. So it specifically was designed 15 years ago when we knew that Iran was doing this. The United States got ready, and that's why this was always going to happen at some point without this level of diplomacy where we don't see Iran participating with. This was the weapon system created to take out this capability.
Mike, I know you're not a political analyst, and we don't normally talk to you about politics, but some of the comments that have come out from Democratic lawmakers indicate that in their view, since Israel was already bombing Iran, that they believe that this mission was unnecessary. Would it have been capable for Israel to do any of this?
No, it wouldn't have been. They don't have the B-2. They don't have this ordnance and this particular bomb that would have done the kind of damage it did. This is not war. We're not at war. It's maybe an active war, but this is a very specific military mission to advance a foreign policy objective. War, you know, is an extension of foreign policy, and that's what the president did here. You heard Secretary Hegseth say no regime change. We don't have hundreds of thousands of troops on the ground. These are clearly weapons of mass destruction targets. This is nothing like 2003. This is nothing like an open-ended war that a lot of people want to drag us into. And if Iran thinks that that they're going to now attack us asymmetrically or using other methods, bring that on. We'll see how that goes. I think that result will be better than them eventually getting a nuclear bomb. Again, this was always going to happen at some point. This This capability was getting taken out by us or the Israelis, and now the conditions were absolutely perfect for it to take place right now.
Just a massive show of U.S. military might, 125 aircraft and submarines armed with Tomahawk missiles as well, too. Mike Lyons, retired U.S. Army Major, we appreciate your insight and analysis. As always, we thank you for making time for us this morning.